Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by 10th Man Rising, the Adam Meakin, Neil, Refracted Curvature, Arthur B. Flat, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, good morning.
Afternoon, everyone.
Hey, good afternoon.
Yeah, Plumb Bobs.
Quick question, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Plumb Bobs.
Oh, God.
The claim that we would have...
For that.
Go on.
Well, they're pointing that, aren't they?
No. Plumb Bobs are all parallel. And the assertion that we have reciprocating zenith angles, all pointing to the centre of a sphere Earth, would defy the Cartesian coordinate systems used to build things and navigate. No. We have a flat plane and parallel plumb bobs. What do you want? No, they're not converging on a centre of a sphere Earth.
Well, whether they're parallel or divergent, converging, whatever, plumb bobs give you your vertical, do they not?
Yes, that's the purpose of the tool.
And how do you get a 90 degrees from a curved surface?
You don't. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved surface?
Well, they're perpendicular to the surface, aren't they? The plumb that's what they're stated to be.
Yeah, all plumb bobs would be perpendicular to the surface that is horizontal, given that they are vertical. Yes.
Well, what I mean by that is for them to be able to be perpendicular to the surface has to be straight, flat. It can't be a curved surface for them all to be perpendicular to that surface.
Or to describe a deviation from it. If you're going to say that they're all converging on the centre of a sphere Earth, okay, so you're saying they're deviating from one another. Well, what are you going to use as the first reference to tell me how much they deviate from one another? Oh, of course, you're going to need a flat plane for that. For the claim. Then the measurement. And then an assertion, undoubtedly a lie, because parallel plumbs is what we have. That they are actually converging on the centre of a sphere Earth when you take one plumb and then move 100 miles away where you can't see the first one and go, oh yeah, this one's also pointing straight down. But because I assume the ground between the two is curving, obviously they're now at reciprocating zeniths or pointing to the centre of Earth. No.
Well, you don't get the zenith or the vertical without the horizontal. So what they're actually claiming is the plane in the center of the sphere is diverging to these points.
Gotcha. So there's a plane in the middle of a sphere Earth, hence my first question about molten iron core. Okay. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Plumb bobs pointing to the centre of a sphere.
What an outrage. There's only 43 people watching. I mean, yesterday there was 430 people watching at this point in the show. Has no one shared? What an outrage. Okay. Today we're going to be covering this.
Don't worry, it's probably just because I'm on the show, guys.
Who's me?
I have that effect on live streams.
Good to have you, John. Early riser, obviously, today. Okay, so we're going to be covering this today, which is Andrew Gold with Dave Weiss as a guest. Now, I've already been covering a little bit of this in the pre-show, so we'll just continue where we left off, if everybody's good by that. Who's making that noise? Go on. We can hear you in the background if you're not on mute, by the way, Morgal, just so you know. Please be vigilant with your mute button. But go ahead. It sounded like you had something to say. Go ahead. Or don't. Obviously, entirely up to you.
Well, I was going to say, given that the Morgul's here, would it be better for us to talk with him, or because I don't know what kind of conflict that has for him with David Weiss?
Who gives a shit? We're going over a video. If he's here, he's going to listen and respond.
Well, you've now brought up the politics of Morgul. I'm sure if he's got something specific to say, like with any other person who joins, like when we were covering a video and the guy joined in with the discussion yesterday about whatever it was he was covering, it was the same thing. Shocking. Reciprocating zenith angles. Right? Well, we just dropped everything to talk to him. Same would apply to Morgul if he's got something to pipe up about. But I don't want to put him on the spot and say, oh, obviously you've got a prepared script to go through. I doubt it. He's just popping along. Sorry to talk about you in third person, John. Anyway, let's get on with it.
No, it's fine. Honestly, I haven't spoken with David Weiss in years, so I don't like have anything against him. But it's not like I'm going to lose any sleep if you guys have issue with stuff with David Weiss. I was actually going to chime in on the last point with the Plumb bobs, though, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's funny. Just the other day, I got in an argument in the comments section where dude was trying to claim that, architects and engineers figure a ball Earth for designing things. And of course, we know that's ridiculous, but they use the argument that I think it's the Golden Gate Bridge is an inch wider at the top than it is at the bottom or whatever. And, of course, somebody's been up there to measure that. It's not just theoretical, I
mean, even if it was, to assert that that is because the Earth is a spherical surface is to affirm the consequent, to say, if the Earth is a sphere, then the Golden Gate Bridge will have a differential at the top of 1 inch. There is a differential of 1 inch, therefore Earth's a spherical surface. Well, no.
Verrazano.
I'm just saying that you have to start with the assumption that Earth is a sphere in order to affirm the consequent with any of these examples. Like yesterday, it's like, well, the buildings would be tipping apart. Has anybody actually measured them? Well, number one, why would I be doing that? Oh, because I want to affirm the consequent that Earth's a sphere? Oh, right. So when I find that one is an inch tilted, it's not called the building regulators. It's Earth's a sphere. Okay, why? Oh, because I've decided this is going to be a globe Earth proof. When I assume Earth's a sphere, it's going to be tilted away. I see. No, that's completely non sequitur. You're just affirming the consequent.
Well, and that's one of the things I love so much about the book Zetetic Astronomy is, love it or hate it, Robotham gave several examples where it's literally codified into law that if you're going to build something like, a bridge or a canal or whatever, you must not, it's illegal for you to assume sphere Earth for your baselines. I mean, it's literally in the law for, I know at least over there, in England or whatever. Or at least maybe in Europe, different places. Canals, but
certainly for trains, yes, I've seen that documented in respect to how they must treat the Earth as a level surface when they're building tracks. For obvious reasons. Why? Well, because if they account for it, they're accounting for it, and they have to measure how much the train can actually go up that incline. Anyway, right, let's do a bit. Go on. Go on, curvature.
Just to repeat what a glober has told us is, who's claiming the ground underneath the mountain is curving? Who would claim that?
Yeah, upon having to face the fact that they measure an elevation angle to it off a flat baseline, they would then ask us as globe believers, who's claiming the ground under the mountain curves? You are. It just doesn't. It's not being measured that way. Anyway, let's do a bit of this video.
Right, what I'm showing you here is there's waves out here. You can't even see this boat. When we zoom in, the boat is hidden because it's in the water.
It's just tiny because it's so far away, and I get.
That's interesting. You should say that, Andrew, because saying hashtag shit shrinks as we do would not be inclusive of your begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. There is no perspective when asserting that the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 and the distance to the horizon is 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet because it's a hill that blocks boats. That calculation does not include the hashtag shit shrinks explanation that Dave is giving you. Dave doesn't need to give you this explanation. It's not his claim for a flat Earth, but he's giving you anyway, and your response is to say hashtag shit shrinks. Not in your maths for a curved Earth, it don't.
But he was never forced to give his position on that. He was never pushed into that corner to say that the Earth curve calculator is this. His opponent did it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not strawmanning or stereotyping when I tell you and the audience, and in this case in response to Andrew Gold, what his calculations that he infers there's a hill in the way imply. They are set in stone. They are his religion. And I can refer to them without him actually appealing to them specifically, because they're his maths for his claim, whether he likes it or not. But you are right. He hasn't been put into a position by Dave where he's had to explicitly state he thinks there's a hill in the way of the boat called Earth curve. Well, that's got specific maths for it. That's what we're detailing. He doesn't know it. Andrew doesn't know this. If you asked him what the Earth curve maths were, he wouldn't have the slightest idea. He doesn't know what science is, let alone what maths for Earth curve are.
At that, but it's not the same as disappearing from the bottom.
You're showing
which
me
is what we see.
Look, this boat is, look, the whole front of the boat's gone. It's hiding behind these waves. Look, it's hiding behind the waves. And as I zoom out,
it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because this is difficult because anyone, you know, watching this, you got to go, is it because of the waves or is it because it's disappearing behind the horizon? So
no, we can take the third option outside of your false dichotomy and debunk your claim that it's a horizon in the form of a hill called Earth curve at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's your positive assertion. Now, if I was in front of you, I wouldn't be making a positive claim. If I was about the horizon, it would be about how we utilise it to establish a flat plane, to navigate, stop us dying at sea, for example. Far more grandiose than this garbage. Do any of these two numpties have any idea how this could be put into practical application to help anybody in any circumstance ever beyond programming them into belief that they're on a ball? No, that's its only purpose. So what practical application does this have? Am I making a claim about the horizon in this regard, about how it blocks boats? No, I'm not. You are. Now you better defend it. And when you make your claim that the horizon's a hill, Earth curve in the way, I'll point out that no, we can debunk it. Black swan. If the Earth's a sphere radius 3959 miles radius, then every distance to the geometric limitation hill Earth curve can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, because that's what your math says it is. And we have imagery that shows it's way beyond the geometric physical limitations of hills getting in the way of things. Therefore, Earth curve is not represented by the horizon, and the Earth is not a sphere radius 3959. We can debunk it.
So I want to hear now your understanding of what flat Earth is, because I'm genuinely intrigued. I want to know what is flat Earth. Right.
Well, I'm just finishing on this. You know, when you zoom out, the boat literally just blinks out. You can't see it. So,
well, as Dave's not going to do it, I will. What is flat Earth? The Earth is obviously, observably, measurably, and navigably flat. So when you get lost at sea, your last resort to find your way home will be to utilise angular measurements off a flat plane. Your GPS system utilises a flat plane Cartesian grid network system so that you can find your way with your satellite navigation. That's a flat plane. All of the surveying and building on the land is done with respect to horizontal. Flat plane. When you look out into the distance, which is all you're doing, it's the lowest rung of this tier of proof, it's obviously flat because there's nothing curving away from you.
So that ship you're looking at, if it's over the curve, it's farther than the boat that I'm showing you here. And
ads, sorry.
If it's over the curve?
It's literally because of the surface of the water. There's the waves, and then if it's perfectly smooth, you get a mirage, and it just hides behind the mirage. We'll get into that.
What a convoluted gaggle screw of crap. You think a single member of the audience is going to listen to that and go, oh, right, oh, therefore Earth's flat?
Well, he just invoked the cause and effect relationship with miraging. He's getting himself into trouble.
Why have we got a claim? Am I missing something? With respect to boats being obscured in the claim that the globe Earth makes, do we have a claim in that regard to need to explain how perspective works? Am I missing something?
No, we have a black swan, and it would have been used a long time ago.
that
We're
further.
at a
So
draw
what
here
is
now.
flat Earth, right?
Again, Adam.
We're at a draw here now. The guy, I'm not sure of his name. He's
Andrew
now
Gold.
Andrew's responded to David. As David keeps going about zooming in, we can do that on a ball because that's what's happening. Yeah, and we've got this convoluted bit where you've got opportunity to address the ball claim, and then a very confused and rushed explanation from David, where we're now into suddenly dealing with mirages and stuff, and we've not. But as you said, all you got to do is deal with a bit of perspective. But you don't really need to be dealing with anything on a flat Earth. Just get him to understand the implications of his claim. That's what he should be being held to. Explain the black swan. Explain the limitations in the modus tollens. Yeah, and work him through that. Because at the moment he thinks all you're doing is zooming in, mate. Yeah, and then address. Fundamentally, because he's given the opportunity a number of times, he's used the term horizon and boats from the bottom up. Explain what that claim is to the baller in the heliocentric model and the implications of it. And once you've done that, then show him the black swan and ask him to deal with that. You don't need to have some convoluted gaggle screw about what that means on a flat Earth. It's perspective and stuff in the distance, mate. That's it. But let's deal with your claim, yeah? Because you're the one that believes in a ball. So get him or outline for him his claim is what he should be doing, not
or if you're going to stay on this vein, at least hold him to task on the fact that he hasn't got perspective to claim when dealing with his geometry of a hill getting in the way. There is no perspective in that claim. But yet they're like, oh, you can just zoom in. Really? Okay. Show me that in your calculations for a Earth curve edge getting in the way, and we'll see how much it gets smaller into the distance in your maths.
I don't think this guy's even aware of an Earth curve calculator by the looks of it. He's not got that. Yeah? This is what I'm saying. To me, this guy's completely fresh. He's got a basic understanding of what he thinks things are, but he needs them explaining and the fundamentals and the implications explaining to him. And that's where you would use the modus tollens to explain it to him. Because this is not out. We don't need to go into flat Earth claim. Let's just look at the ball claim. Look at what you are claiming this image is.
Well, you say
Adam's
that. Hold
100%
on, Neil. You say that. Well, that's because there's no flat Earth claims being made so far. There's apologetics in a false dichotomy for a globe claim of Earth curve edge getting in the way of boats. That's all we've got so far. Me, I'd be segueing this straight onto globe proof. Oh, you want to talk about the horizon? Yeah, we use that to establish Earth as flat when we save people's lives at sea when lost. What's this used for? You say boats getting blocked. Give me one practical application. I'd have taken this immediately to a flat Earth proof that used the horizon. Not babbled on about what I think perspective is and talk about refraction. Why? Have we got flat Earth refraction proving a flat Earth, Dave Weiss? Au contraire, it's their claim. Just hold him to task on his claim. That's all you got to do. He's making it. Oh, no, you're doing it for him.
People think, people think that, where is it?
Just think of a stereotyping fallacy, Dave. That's how stereotyping fallacy starts. People think that. I'm people. Let's see if I think this.
Looking for, people think that flat Earth is a disk floating in space, right? Nobody believes that.
Do they? Well, we don't think that, and we're flat earthers. Right? I don't think this guy's thinking it. He's looking at you like, what the hell are you talking about? Just stereotype me into this belief.
We're a disk floating in space, okay? When you Google flat Earth, YouTube will serve you this. This is from the Flat Earth Society. Nobody believes in the Flat Earth Society except globe believers.
To be fair, I have heard this little ramble from Dave, and it's not bad. So I might just let this play out, because it's not bad.
I'm going to check on flat Earth. I'm going to Google flat Earth. And then you end up with information from this disinformation site. No flat earther believes we're a disk. No flat earther thinks we're floating in space. No flat earther thinks that water is falling off the edge of the disk, right? So that's not what it is, right? And, then they show you the turn up, right? And that the Earth is rising at 9.8 meters per second. No legitimate flat earther thinks that, right? We're not a flat planet with other round planets. This is all, you're mixing a fake flat Earth model with a fake heliocentric model, which is a...
Yes, that's incorrect.
No credible flat earther thinks the Earth is rising?
So if I named 3, he's just saying that they're not credible. So you've got Raichi, you've got Beyond the Imaginary Curve. Actually, I can't think of a third one off the top of my head. But yeah, there's plenty of people who watch Dell that think that the Earth is rising up now, for whatever reason. Is that it?
Double
Just an
negative.
interesting-
So what is flat Earth? And the answer is the large bodies of water at rest need containment. Can you agree with that, Andrew?
Say that again.
Large bodies of water at rest need containment. Agreed?
Yes, of course,
Okay.
yeah.
And so a bathtub needs a tub. A lake needs the shoreline of a lake. The world pond, all of the oceans of the world need containment. What holds them in? They're not on a spinning
Gravity.
ball in a scientifically impossible space vacuum. They're literally being held in by the shoreline of our gigantic world lake.
Are they?
Why?
So, but as based on what evidence, David Weiss? What are you talking about?
I was pondering there, thinking you doing an all right waffle job on a really shitty question. I was thinking, how would I answer that? What is flat Earth? It's actually a tricky question. Do you go into an explanation of what you think the flat Earth is, or? I mean, for me, I'd say it's a realization that we're not living on a ball, and a realization that the Earth is obviously observably and now navigatably flat. It's coming to that realization and seeing the lies to you. I would hate to go to try and describe some topography that I can't back up and prove. Now, there's so much stuff I can demonstrate what is flat Earth. Not what the flat Earth is, but what this movement is. And I'd probably stick in that realm. And as we were saying earlier, the noobs, it's about a recognition you're being lied to.
You're being lied to again. This is Dave Weiss lying to you. Dave Weiss has no clue that this is the case.
Let me just finish. Not realizing you're not being lied to, getting rid of that paradigm and what it's not. And this is probably what I'd make to a guy like this. The point, it's not about replacing a paradigm, which is, if I'm being critical of Dave, what he's kind of doing. He's trying to give you a new. This is actually, we're in a big pond now. We're not on a ball. We're in a big pond. Yeah, and that to me is what flat Earth isn't. It's not to give a replacement paradigm based on no standards again and no proof.
Nathan,
that shoreline.
What
I'm
hearing. All right. What I'm hearing here is there's not one seed of doubt about the globe in Andrew Gould's mind right now. Dave has failed to put any doubt of the globe claims, which is crazy because all he had to do was show the black swan. Now Andrew can start doubting the globe claims. What's happening is David's making claims. No, you destroy the globe and they say, oh my gosh, it doesn't work based on what they told me. Now I'm curious. I want to find out. Dave's not taking that approach.
Keep an eye out for Eli.
Yeah.
No, I mean, let me into the G plus, please. Gracias.
You do it without mumbling.
That man's 100% right.
It's like a salesman who talks past the close. This is Dave right here. He's just talking past the close. He never even offered the close, but he's talking past it. Talk.
Hasn't got to the boot of his car yet. He hasn't unpacked the product yet. There's no product on the table to make a close for.
That's what I'm saying. He hasn't even. I'm just saying what it appears to me like it's just the mouth running with all these factoids from his view of what flat Earth is. Mirage, this, that, instead of putting a seed of doubt as to the big lie we've all been addressed with by heliocentrism and the globe and gravity and the horizon being geometric physical, that's actually blocking something. If he can put some doubt there first, that listener is going to say, okay, I see what you're saying. I have a problem with it now. Can you help me answer some questions I might have for you now? Dave's already answering questions the guy never asked.
Right. But answering them with
this sales analogy.
I just want to get just one more point. How is this any different to saying, well, you'll present it on Google with a picture of Earth rising up? That's wrong, says Dave Weiss. Okay, fair enough. I agree with that a little bit. Yeah, we don't know. I mean, it might be right, but I don't know. Is a more reasonable answer. However, it's part of his presentation to then go into this cartoon of the world and tell you that this is how it is. How is this any different to you saying, here's what Google presents you, it's wrong. Here's what I present you, it's right. Why? What evidence of ice walls and puddles are there? None. You haven't presented any. This is it. Baseless assertion.
We're not.
So I'm going to take the position of
a new reality, are we?
I'm going to take the position
just 1 second, John.
Sorry, let me mute. I'm sorry.
Adam, then Morgal. Go ahead, Adam.
What about me?
We're not.
Oh, sorry, Eli. I thought you were just muttering your way through, like, colour commentary. Okay,
I'll go
Eli,
after Adam and Morgal.
Well, I'd rather put you last.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Adam.
I would just going back to the sales pitch. We're not. I've said before, we're selling shit. We don't want to be selling anything. We're just pointing out how bad a product he's got. That's the important thing here. And as you've picked up on, I've said, stop trying to present a new version of reality for these people. Second you do that, you are selling something. You're not engaging with the guy. You're selling a new reality. Yeah, don't. You haven't got anything to back it up. Yeah, and you are fundamentally, as I said, you're selling shit to somebody. It's not a pleasant product, Flat Earth. Yeah, it leaves you in a mess. You know what I mean? It's not something that you pick up lightly, is it? Or at least move with. And it's not an attractive product. Don't sell the product to me.
That's
Just
their agenda.
remind him how bad a product he's actually got right now, if you're going to keep it in sales.
Okay, hold on, Neil. You can go after Eli. And Morgal, then Eli. Morgal, then Eli.
So am I up?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, you guys. And it's such a pain because every time I go to try to mute or unmute myself, the button disappears. And it's like playing whack-a-mole with the mute button. So forgive me if I'm a little sloppy with it. I apologize. So, when it comes to debating, man, first of all, I'm not going to try to defend David Weiss's debating tactics or prowess or any of that. I mean, it's definitely indefensible. Okay, so I'm with you there. But on the other hand, when you're in a live debate, it's easy to say, to think what you might say. It's a whole lot different when you're actually the one doing it. With that being said, I can think of plenty of people who are good representatives for Flat Earth who make good, cogent arguments and are not going to go off into tangents about things that are irrelevant or speculative. There's enough physical proof and tangible things related to Flat Earth that we can go to. But I'm usually not one to armchair quarterback, but at the same time, just to tell a little story, and stop me if you guys don't want me to tell it. But,
go ahead.
So years ago, it was in August of 2015. So I'm like literally months into Flat Earth. I think I did my first video in May of 2015. So this is like May to August, right? So just months. And I had met Dave Weiss through the people who facilitated the Ball Earth Skeptic with Matrix, Decode, and can't think of the names, but I'm sure some of you guys remember. And David Weiss had come to me and asked me, did I potentially want to do a debate with this Harvard astrophysicist, Josh Grinley? Because apparently what had happened was Eric Dubay was slated to do this debate, and like a week or so before the thing happened, he backed out and said he wasn't going to do it. And so David Weiss was the one who asked me, like, did I want to potentially do that? And I'm like, sure, absolutely. I was pretty gung-ho. I was still 3 or 4 months into Flat Earth or whatever. And so I agreed to do it. And You know, on that debate, it was on the radio. So it was on Midnight in the Desert with not George Norrie, but the other guy, Art Bell.
I remember this.
And it was pretty brutal, but I think I held my own fairly well for the time. I mean, I was definitely a noob to flat Earth, and it wasn't like today where there's a lot more information out today, a lot more proofs, and we've had a little bit more time to sort of refine our thinking and refine our arguments. So there's a bunch of things that I would have definitely done differently, but I guess what my point is I had a lot of people telling me that they didn't know that Eric Dubay was supposed to do that debate, but then didn't. And there was a lot of people saying that, Eric Dubay should have been the one to do this debate because he would have said this and he would have said that. And, my only response to that is, well, Eric Dubay didn't even show up. He didn't even put his shoes on that day. So I actually did show up. And, I don't think I had a perfect debate, but I still think that I won. If you're going to fairly score the thing, I got several instances where I got the guy to admit, and concede exactly what I wanted him to say. So I think I did well in that regard. And what I did was I put together like a remix of the debate on my channel and went through just this whole copyright dispute with Art Bell's people. And what kind of was fishy to me, so I'll just throw this in here at the end, but Dave was trying to get me to take down my video of the remix of the debate, like really, really trying to get me to take it down. And I'm like, well, whose side are you on, man? I don't know. I've been friendly with Dave, over the years, but we don't speak. And I've heard things about him talking smack about me behind my back, and I don't appreciate when people do that. So I'm not going to do that to him. But yeah, I don't think he's exactly the best debater we've got on the flat Earth. That's for damn sure. But
yeah, but John, you said it yourself. That was
hold on, Neil. You're after Eli.
It's now 2023.
You're after Eli. Neil, just one sec. You're after Eli. You will get a chance, I promise.
Sorry.
Right, I remember that debate. And where you did exceptionally well is you refused to launch into flat Earth proofs. You specifically kept it on how you were going to debunk orbital mechanics and various other aspects. And you stuck to your guns, and he shouted you down so much. It was his show, so he had control of who was going to be hogging the mic and when the mic was going to be hogged. It was my first experience of rumpusing, because they rumpus the crap out of you, especially Art Bell. But there we go. I remember the remix as well. I didn't know that there was some contentious about that because I listened to it. It was quite difficult to listen to, as you can imagine, because you're responding to you two kind of talking through each other at various different points, but you are still listening and talking to each other as talking through each other because you're both reasonably intellectual in that regard. You can listen and talk, unlike some of the fundies we deal with. So it was productive, even though it was rumpusy. But like I say, you stuck to your guns. I will get to you in a second, Eli, I promise, and Neil. And didn't necessarily launch into proving Earth's flat, but stuck to what you'd found in terms of the incorrect nature of heliocentric orbital motion, unless I'm very much mistaken.
So the way that they wanted me to do it is they asked me to put together 20 questions that we were going to go over during the debate. And we didn't even cover half of them, but we kind of covered several of them. And yeah, he definitely had mic supremacy. So like he was over the noise gate and I was very much under the noise gate. So if he was talking while I was talking, if he was whispering while I was yelling, he would come over the mic, not me. So there was that. And of course, the moderator, Art Bell, wasn't very neutral at all. Like he was definitely on this guy's side. I mean, he practically gave him fellatio in his introduction.
Right.
And so it was definitely very one-sided, but at the same time, I think I did fairly well under the circumstances.
Absolutely.
Again, there's a lot of things I would have done differently, but it's different when you're the one that's actually in the debate. But
and you're a noob.
You can practice that sort of thing, and you would.
You're a total noob at that point.
You would think that after years of being high profile in this, you might hone some sort of debate skills or whatever. But I mean, it's not for everybody,
Yeah, indeed. Okay, right. Yes, Eli, go ahead.
Yeah, it's super interesting because even in my industry, uh, w- you begin to realize when you align yourself with the truth that when you're educating people, you're really just telling them how the situation they're in is screwed. Not even telling them, but showing them in different areas of their life. And at that point, it no longer seems like a sale because you're literally helping that person see where they're going wrong and they make the decision to correct course. Now, it's crazy because I've been in this, so 24/7, we gained a new section in the politics server where it's been blazing hot debates. I feel like look, an old vet just back at it again. I've been talking to so many new people with their pseudo philosophy, all that stuff, right? It feels like 2017 all over. It's been so hot. All of the flat earthers are in there. And what I find is the new people consistently want us to sell them a flat earth. And one of the things that I refuse to do since the beginning of this is sell anyone a flat earth, specifically because everyone has to understand we all came from the globe. We all believed in the globe. And the only reason that I'm not on the globe, and I'm going to go ahead and assume that it's the same for everyone else out there on the flat earth side at this point, is specifically because we saw something in the product that wasn't true. Something about the globe that we thought, we came across some information and found out that wasn't true. And we went out there and we asked other people, like, am I tripping? I heard this information about what we all believe. And what's the deal on that? And then somebody who you think is your buddy, they're like, oh, that's interesting. You want to talk to this person? Like they'll throw you in a debate or they'll anything like that. And then you talk to that person and that person is really just like, yeah, so tell me what a flat earth is. How do stars work on a flat earth? How does, all of these, you guys already know the deal. But that's a really weird position to be in when the only reason you were there is because you know you were lied to. And I don't understand what the globers that are like genuinely globers missing about that. Well, so that's all.
Neil, go ahead.
I'd like to go answer Neil.
Hold on, my turn. John the Morgile, you were new and you did well. David Weiss has no excuse. It is 2023. Get with the freaking program. He's had opportunity after opportunity to debunk the globe in front of this pseudoscientist. I don't even think the guy's that. And he has failed. And now you're saying that he doesn't want you to put up a video of you? He's telling you to take it down? Come on. There's something in the waters here.
What? Oh, I missed something. I missed one thing. One thing. Sorry, Ten. One thing real quick.
Outrageous.
So it's interesting because there are two things I've realized. When you, first of all, like, and I'm speaking to all of the, like, I just spoke to an Ivy League woman last night, all morning, actually, morning, not last night. And she kept trying to make me feel like she was agreeable with me. But when it came to saying experiment, what an experiment was, she was like, see, that's where you're incorrect. Let me help you out. Oh, see, no, I understand these things because it's the consensus of academia. Like, you're wrong about what a hypothesis is. Let me help you out. No, B, sorry. And I'm like, yo, why does she keep trying to sell? Like, I know what it is. Like, and so when we had a debate in front of people, when she tried to delegitimize what I said was a hypothesis, what did she do? She included her epistemology to prove me wrong, not a viable hypothesis that I would use. So I went with the old go-to. I went with boiling water. Heat causes water to boil. And she said, well, for all you know, it could be angels. You don't know if that's the only cause. And she said, and do we really know what heat is? I smacked my forehead and said, oh my God, what's it? I don't know if she caught it. I don't think she knows who that is. But that was the craziest thing I've ever. And again, when it comes to what was the other thing? Hypotheses and to the black swan. When we're trying to tell people, oh my God, do you know that when you look out into the distance and you see the horizon over a large body of water, do you know that there's an expectation of you, seeing as that we live on a geometric shape? You know how you pick up a basketball and you see that line that you can't see beyond, you can't see the rest of the basketball. Why? Because it's curved away from you, right? So you have a tangent to a tangent point on the globe, marked with an X. That's what they call the horizon. Do you know what to expect when you look out into the distance? And you know what you know what the reply is to me? Oh, well, actually, you wouldn't expect to see the geometric horizon. Where are these people getting this stuff?
That's old.
Perfect segue.
Go ahead,
Perfect segue.
Thank you, Eli.
All right. That was good, Eli. Let's not confuse sales with everyday people who run their mouth and who are salesmen. A salesman that's worth his or her weight in gold asks questions. Okay? I don't hear David Weiss asking questions. I hear him telling. Selling, but not really selling. For example, Andrew Gold made a statement. David Weiss could have easily said, why do you believe the horizon is the physical Earth curve? Why do you believe that, Andrew? Wait for answer. Oh, okay, so it's geometric then. Yes. Physical. Yes. Could it ever change then? What do you mean? Well, could it be closer or further away if it's physical? Wait for answer. Then offer another question. Be ready to show the black swan. Andrew, if you found out that the so-called proofs for a globe or Earth were false, how would you respond? Wait for answer, Dave. Don't talk. Can I show you why it's false? I have the information. Are you interested? If he says yes, you show him. If he says no, you say, hey, Andrew, thanks for your time. Thank you for being honest with me and not wasting any more of my time in my research. Appreciate you.
Okay. Any more for any more? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Back to curvature.
I was going to, when Morgal said we're armchair quarterbacking, he is right. But, and I'm not trying to defend it. You know, what we're trying to do, though, is when he first subject, he wouldn't ask the questions that he would now. And because he's someone else or he has realized the fault in the way he's approaching the topic. And so he changed his argumentation style. That's what we're trying to do by reviewing these videos, is get people to accept that the information that they're putting forward is either fallacious or incorrect. And
so
it's not
so constructive criticism.
You are right.
Yes.
We are being armchair quarterbacks because we're not involved in that game by comparison, right? We're on the sidelines screaming at the ref for making bad decisions, but we're not the ref. We're not in the game. We are. You're right. It's armchair quarterback. However, I could just as easily take the other opinion and go, no, we're not, because we are in the game. This is the game. Therefore, this is what we do to justify it. But no, you know, if you want to put it a different way, a third way, what we do is armchair quarterbacking. That's what we do when we're responding to these sorts of videos as a debating show.
Well, and you know, I think that we're never going to progress without constructive criticism. So constructive criticism is extremely important. But the problem is people let their egos get in the way, and instead of trying to learn and better their argument, or just become better at debating in general, their feelings get hurt, and then they basically bury their heads in the sand to everything that you have to say. And that's a shame, because we flat earth proponents are definitely few and far between. And ideally we would all be like a cohesive unit, like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku are definitely, they're all humming the same tune or whatever. And of course, flat earth, that's probably never going to happen, but ideally we would at least be able to support each other, whether it's constructive criticism or whatever. And unfortunately, there are a lot of egos in the way, and it's a shame.
Yeah,
and that's
not just ego. There's also just outside of the ego aspects is the personal relationships that you build with people like Dave Weiss in your instance, or me with Jaron, also you with Jaron, obviously. But those sorts of things do also get in the way. And I tried to explain this to the audience a few weeks back by saying, when a Glober comes and they put their argument, and I might have hammed it up a bit and to put a bit of emotion into it for dramatic effect, after the show's ended, I often forget what the show was about. It doesn't affect me in any way. Neil's like, oh, don't lose any sleep over this. Well, that's true. However, when it comes to somebody that is, as you described them, on your own side, that you'd hope you'd have some cohesion with, it is upsetting. And sometimes that gets the better of you as well, not just because of ego. In other words, you're like, no, surely I want you to be on my side because you're on my side. Surely you'd welcome something that's going to benefit you. And it's upsetting when it doesn't. But obviously ego also comes into it on the flip side of that coin in respect to a recent discussion we won't necessarily get into as an example, but hopefully the brighter of the audience members will know what you're hinting at and what I'm hinting at here, Morgar. Was there someone else before we get back in? Because we're going to get at least one more clip in before the end of the live show. Say that as a no?
Yeah, I was.
It's me. I wanted to say good morning.
Oh, yeah,
Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello. Go on, John. Feel free.
I was just going to say that, while there is a personal aspect to this, because they have, Nathan has been attacked as a scammer, and there is that part of it, but primarily what we're doing is to benefit the people involved. And I think everyone on the panel is doing it for that reason. It's not as much as it is personal. And especially with Nathan, he did take it personal, but he's doing this because he wants to benefit the people involved in it.
Yeah,
They didn't want to help.
The overriding objective is to get the information out to more people. That's why I have a show, right? Well, Jaron's got a bigger show and therefore can get it out to more people. Therefore, if I can appeal to him to utilise the best arguments that are available, that's to everybody's benefit as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, why wouldn't you want to? Now, obviously, there's an element of ego that might get in the way. There's also a lot of other things that aren't related to the subject topic and whether or not we're disseminating it to an audience. So they're just going to get left aside, and I'm just going to move on with more clips from Andrew Gold and David Weiss. What I've not done at this point, which I should have done, and I feel really bad. Sorry, Andrew, that's not normally my shtick, but I'm going to correct that now. So the channel is called something like the Andrew Gold Experience, and it's just called Andrew Gold. So the YouTube channel is Andrew Gold. The affirmative position for Globe in this respect is also Andrew Gold. So it's the name of the channel and the name of the chap speaking. So go over, give him a like, leave a comment, and let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. We responded to your video. Other than me being quite vitriolic in respect to his lack of scientific understanding, hopefully we've been reasonably kind. We haven't at all. Anyway, let's move on. Go and let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. I'll say this because I say it all the time. It's done in the vain hope that me, as a shoved to the bottom of the list flat earther, might gain some algorithmic love via the people who respond to us, or if Andrew Gold were to do so. In other words, selfish motivations in this respect, me sharing out the love and the link by putting his link to his video so that you go comment and help him in the algorithm, would be for the selfish motivation of hoping that Andrew Gold would do the same in kind and respond by putting my link to his response in his video. So I get some algorithmic love where YouTube offer me none. Anyway, go and let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. But we will continue. So yeah, there you go.
Line we call Antarctica. All right?
I knew it. Go on, Arthur.
I'll be concise, but here's a conspiracy theory within Flat Earth. People like Jaren and David Weiss and Globebusters, all these huge channels, are actually for beginners, people who are looking into Flat Earth, and maybe people who haven't still made up their mind, people who are still on the fence. Now they are going to remain on the fence because they do not have any solid arguments that we do here on Flat Earth Debate and Ballbusters. Now, if you try to understand what they are going to gain by giving you the actual proofs of Flat Earth, they are going to continue to show you NASA fakery and ISS footage glitches and all that meaningless stuff, which any real Flat Earther comes to a conclusion after a year or so maybe of looking into all that stuff. And after that, they know there's no point looking at 24 hours ISS video, right? So here we talk about the actual points. We are the cutting edge, like you say, the sharp edge of the spear. But they have some interest in keeping new flat earthers and people on the fence confused. And from a Christian point of view, we all know who is the author of confusion. So we all know what they are driven by.
No, I agree.
That's
It's a sentiment that's been put across by refractive curvature when he says this will result in a draw. Well, you're saying, well, along the same lines, if this doesn't result in a solid, oh right, that proves it's flat, then they're not going to be interested in revisiting NASA fakery or whatever else that's being on offer. So maybe you're saying from a subconscious level that they're, without realizing it, keeping people on the fence because it'll keep them coming back to their material. I mean, maybe that's an intent that's in the forefront of their mind to achieve, but I don't agree with you in that respect. I just think it's out of ignorance, and maybe spite in some regards from what some of the people on the panel allude to. They just don't want to use arguments that we use, and they don't like hearing people say catchphrases they've heard on Flat Earth Debate, like, you'll need a flat earth for that. But the irritation with hearing a catchphrase that's attached to a road leading back from a globe claimed to be proof to a flat earth, you'd think that you'd lap that up in spades if you were out on the circuit trying to prove the earth is flat. But instead what we see is this ambiguity between how earth should have a geometric obstruction. There should be stuff in the way of these lights, says Dave Weiss. You're like, this doesn't make sense to me. If you're trying to promote earth being flat, why have your phraseology geared towards the implication of what should be blocking your view? Because if it, as phrased by Dave Weiss, should be blocking your view means, all right, well then, why isn't it? Let's debate about why it isn't. Because it should be.
Well, and aren't there a lot of traps like that? Like, I'll give you an example. So the globe Earth believer starts arguing that their cell phone is communicating with a geostationary communication satellite 20,000 miles away. And when you start arguing against that claim, don't forget that's not claimed by the cell phone companies. It's supposedly ground-based towers. And so when you start arguing about cell phones communicating with satellites 20,000 miles away, wow, you really are a stupid flat earther if you think that your cell phone is communicating with the satellite.
I gotcha.
20,000 miles away in a place that can't exist.
But
Yeah, I'd be
really,
asking
how
them
many
whether
times have you heard David Weiss talking about celestial navigation, or maybe explaining the black swan argument for that matter? He came, I just posted it on Master B. He came on a big YouTuber who has turned flat earther with 10K subscribers. And I am in touch with that flat earther. And I pointed out to him that you are using the word science and scientifically wrongly, and try to present him the same arguments directly also and in my videos also. So David Weiss featured on his channel, and all that he talks about are his tabletop light experiments to show that even when it goes horizontally, it feels like it is setting. The entire half an hour to 1 hour conversation was all about sunrises and sunsets and he was answering questions that globers have. Why does the sun not become smaller when it approaches the horizon during sunrise and sunset, right? So
why are you asking me? Did I make a claim about it? Would be my response. Oh, you have a claim that there's a physical geometric sphere edge hill getting in the way of the sun to cause the sunset. So therefore, the burden of proof reversal fallacy immediately kicks in with a false dichotomy that we're going to be arguing about because I've got to explain what the sun does. No, I don't. Unless I'm using it to establish a ground position, I use it for navigation purposes, in which case I'm drawing an elevation angle measurement to a flat plane to get the angle and note its time so that I can find out where the hell I am. But that's its use to me. What's that? Why doesn't it reach the horizon? Again, have we got a practical application for this use? If not, who cares?
The question itself is incoherent, by the way. The not actual size of the sun moves from its not actual position. Why does it not change in its not actual size? It's incoherent of a question.
In short, the answer was the sun doesn't seem to get smaller because it is already so far. So it does get small, but we can't perceive it because it is already so far.
Yeah, but that's their positive claim to be making. But the way that the trick works... Go on, Morgal. No, you go ahead.
What I was going to say is, even though your answer is right, it kind of seems like a cop-out from the other end, and you sort of still have to address it because... And again, we're kind of treating globetards with kid gloves in these sort of respects. You kind of have to, I think. But what I would say is sometimes it does. Sometimes the sun does appear to get smaller. Sometimes it doesn't. It's a subjective thing, but there's really no right answer because you're right. Like once you start arguing this, now you're making positive claims that you never made. So it's a catch-22.
There is a way to answer it, to incorporate it into the question if you chose to do so, though. I mean, you could point out that at the point that they say that the sun reaches and breaches a hill, Earth curve, at the horizon, I can measure a baseline utilising that same horizon they say the sun has gone behind and establish that that sun is in fact above a different part of land along a flat baseline. So given that to navigate and save lives, I can establish that what they claim has gone beyond a physical hill curving away from me can be measured to save lives as being above a flat baseline, with the limitation to your view merely being the horizon. But for someone else, it's below their horizon when they look back at us. But it doesn't alter the fact that between us and them, in this case, the sun being directly above somebody on the land, its GP is now above them, that's got a flat baseline between the two positions when you navigate and put this into practical application. And again, if they say, well, I was asking about the boats. Oh, right, so we need to segue away from something that's put into practical application to save lives with a flat baseline and the measurement of the sun to your begging the question of a sphere Earth and its distance to, what, argue that the sun's going behind a hill? Because that's useful. Yeah, my argument saves lives. Your argument is only used to brainwash people into believing there's a hill that we've debunked already with the black swan getting in the way of the sun. I'd also point out at this stage, if it came up, given that I'd already have definitely covered the black swan, that we're back to having a hill get in the way, are we? So if the Earth was a sphere radius 3959, then every distance to the hill blocking the sun could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet as laid down in your Earth curve maths. We've already dealt with it. Distance to horizon in the black swan's way beyond the geometry that would give you a hill to block the sun with. So the horizon's not Earth curve blocking the sun. But what we do with the sun is establish a flat baseline between its GP above other land. Oh, wait, right, it could be further than a sunset. Doesn't mean that the baseline's not flat. It's not curving away. That's for certain. It's being established as flat to find where you are. That means the sun is above a flat baseline in both instances and definitely hasn't gone beyond a curve when you see it setting. Because you can measure it out beyond that sunset to give you your location and position. On a flat Earth.
If they're going to invoke the horizon as being a physical curve, they're going to have to use the mathematics that requires it to exist below surface level and misinterpret that.
I've got to start incorporating that into my spiel, haven't I? It makes me smile every time you drop it in, and I've forgotten to. Indeed, The assertion in the first instance that the horizon is a geometric physical limitation at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height feet, because it's marked with an X, labelled horizon in the begging the question, proof of nothing, geometric, sphere edge, horizon, earth curve calculator, in name only, because it's actually a differential calculation for information loss at the horizon based on Earth's surface level and your eye level. Well, that differential calculation gives you a tangent point horizon below surface level. That's your Earth curve edge. That's why it doesn't exist in physical reality, and we can offer a black swan. We haven't got an Earth curve. There isn't any. Right, we're going to get this clip in. We are actually at the hour mark now. I was hoping to have rounded out, having played at least a few more seconds.
So Antarctica is the container of water. What's out here? What's out here? What's out here? No one's allowed to go out there. You're allowed to go to this little...
But if no one's allowed to go out there and you're asking what's out there, why are you telling him that's the world we live in? I don't get it. You've moaned about Google telling you about this, I don't know, triangularly shaped spherical pin thing looking at going up in space at 9.8 meters per second because Google say so. Okay, well, because you say so, but now you're asking about all the reasons why it could be wrong and how you couldn't know and couldn't prove this because we can't go out there. Well, don't claim it then.
Well, peninsula where there's a base, which is bigger than many countries, okay? But you're not allowed to go out here unguided. You have to, people say, oh, yeah, you can go out there. Look into it. We've looked into it. We've got videos to show you that you actually can't go out there. And now all the people
loads of people have. There are entire bases and countries out in Antarctica.
Yeah. So the entire, when you say entire countries and bases, I agree. The entire countries and bases are, jump all over the place here. Give me a second here.
Not proving the shape of the Earth or its nature as a flat plane in either way. So who cares what's on Antarctica or whether or not we can get there or whether or not they've got bases? What does this prove? Nobody's offering an example for why Antarctic bases is going to prove Earth's a sphere or Earth flat. Nobody's offering anything.
Here it is. We have, this is our map, and we have a base here, here. These are bases. Nobody goes from this base.
Our map. Right? Did you create Dave Weiss, the cartographer? Our map. Is it?
Across the bottom of the ball and shows up at this
there's
Nobody
so many good things.
Again.
Sorry. I was just going to say there's a lot of really cogent, interesting things that you can talk about Antarctica. I'm not sure why you would jump to this, and not to armchair quarterback too much, but like Antarctica, the whole Antarctic Treaty was on the back of exploration saying that it was rich in all kinds of very lucrative natural resources, right? So you would expect that the corporations and the governments of the world would be mining the crap out of Antarctica. And instead, what we got was the Antarctic Treaty, right? So Antarctica is very important, I think. And I also believe that far south exploration is going to be key to really fleshing out an accurate model, which I don't think we have at this point for very valid reasons. But I don't know. I don't know, man.
I agree. I mean, it's perfectly legitimate for someone like yourself to sit around talking about Antarctica because it is fascinating. I'm not going to deny that. But when you're trying to convince somebody who's opposing you in a discussion or debate that the Earth is flat, this is the kind of conversation that you have with friends, flat Earth friends, when you spitball about what might be or how the maps came to pass. But not in a debate. It doesn't prove anything.
Well, this is the problem with David Weiss not bringing up Black Swan in the first instance by asking a question. And now Andrew Gold is looking at Antarctica as a continent on the bottom of a sphere. And David's saying, no, let me show you these bases. It's like you don't even have him close to flat Earth when you go to Antarctica at this point. But if you can show him the Black Swan and the geometric limitations, then David Weiss is going to be thinking a little bit different. Now you put a seed of doubt in his mind that we're even on a globe. But he doesn't have that seed of doubt right now. So what is this transition to Antarctica going to do?
I was going to say, I think that the problem is convincing someone of flat Earth is not just involving proving the flatness and stationariness of the Earth, because once someone goes down that road of, hypothesizing that flat Earth might be a thing, they next have to admit that NASA's lying and the government's lying and all of their science class teachers were totally wrong and that they've been wrong about everything. So there's a lot of emotional baggage that goes with admitting flat Earth, even if just for argument's sake, hypothetically. And so in my opinion, that's why, like, if I'm in a debate, I might actually bring up Antarctica because it speaks to the larger point that, if your opponent in this debate is saying things like, well, NASA went to the moon in 1969 and, the government never lies or something like that, then you're not dealing with somebody that is at all versed in this, and you need to really focus your points elsewhere than you normally would if you're dealing with somebody that's that red-pilled, right?
Morgan, there's many ways to debate, and everyone can have their own style. No one's going to decry anything opposite of that. The point of a flat earther, hopefully, is to destroy the globe claims, not to prove flat Earth. Destroy the globe claims by the Black Swan, by celestial navigation, by all the evidence that they even put into the books when they say, well, it's easier to think that the stars are moving and the Earth is stationary. Why would they put that in there if this is key to navigation? Well, NASA puts out these documents saying all our technologies are built on a non-rotating stationary Earth. Why would they do that if it's actually rotating? Okay, so you start you kill the globe with the Black Swan and elevation angles. Once the globe is killed, now they're open. But if you're going to go in to a lifetime of indoctrination from the crib to whatever age they are now, with movies and everything else that keep reinforcing this, you're not going to do well. You're going to do well when they start doubting the globe.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because there was a gentleman that come on the day before yesterday, I think, who did not believe the Earth was flat. And by the end of the conversation, he was telling us how flat the Earth was. Do you remember him?
Yeah. It's very cordial. I think I trimmed it out. It's a members only video. I'll release it this weekend.
Yeah, he came in as specifically opposed to flat Earth, and by the end of it, he's telling us that it can't be a globe. And I never debated him on any of the issues he brought up.
These bases, they might go from this base to this base. Okay, that's about maybe I don't know how far that is, but it's not that much bigger than if Antarctica.
Why does no one go there?
Because this is how the Earth is set up, and it's too far. It's too far, right? No one's allowed to cross over the South Pole, right? Because we can't disturb the ice, can't disturb the penguins. We have to keep the ice pristine, and they're worried about people getting stuck out there. Meanwhile, in Alaska,
my God.
Okay,
And worst argument
no
ever.
more.
okay, it's crap. Yes.
if you go north and your expedition gets snowed in or something, they'll go, well, you're going to have to wait till the spring. We're not even going to try to rescue them because it's just too harsh out there.
But we have been to the South Pole.
Who has? Who told?
South Pole. So, excuse me? Pole? What do you mean, pole? So you're assuming that there's a pole that goes through a sphere Earth? That's a begging the question fallacy. What do you mean, South Pole?
Do that. Were you there?
Dave won't
You have
address
picture?
it.
Sorry.
Dave won't address that. He will not address it. He'll talk about penguins.
It's not that he won't address it. He hasn't caught it. Right? We're all sat here waiting for these buzzwords like pole. Pole, you say? Now, it's a begging the question fallacy. Why? Well, because you're assuming... Go on. Go on.
I was going to say not only that, but the idea of a polar coordinate requires the Earth to be flat. So to get the idea that you've been to the pole, you need 90 degrees below a southern celestial point of rotation.
Right.
But this is it. I can't win. I can't win the debate, David, because everything I say, look, here's a picture of a boat disappearing over the horizon. No, those were just big waves. Oh, but
we would have actually won. You would have actually lost in that circumstance because no, if the Earth's a sphere radius 3959, every distance to the horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer sine feet, because that's where your hill in the maths gets in the way as Earth curve. Distance to horizon in the black swan is way beyond the geometric limitations in your globe Earth mathematics that begs the question and ignores perspective. We would say hijacks it because it turns the effects of shrinking in the distance into a physical geometric limitation. But when we show it beyond the hill that's supposed to be getting in the way, it is debunked. You would have lost and understood that the Earth is not represented with a sphere edge hill getting in the way at 1.2 times the square root of the observer sine feet.
We have been to the South Pole. Here's a few people who have been there.
Takeaway there.
Again,
Adam. In terms of the boats disappearing over the horizon, so he's left this part of the debate where the explanation that's been put to him by the flat earther is it's waves. That's what flat earthers think when boats disappear over the horizon. It's waves in the foreground.
Big waves.
Big waves. Yeah. That's what he's left that debate with. He's not left with the black swan and a realization of the implications of reifying the horizon into the leading edge of a ball. He's left thinking, flat earthers think it's waves.
I see. So you're saying by contrast, excuse me, where we would assert, based on his claim that there's a horizon blocking the boat, that if the Earth was a sphere, radius 3959, then every distance to the horizon to block the boat could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Here's your Earth curve mathematics that makes the claim the Earth is a hill getting in the way. Here's an image that shows the horizon 10 miles beyond where it should be as a hill, physical in nature, blocking these oil rigs. It isn't. Therefore, the horizon's not Earth curve and the Earth is not a sphere. That is the end of this discussion about boats being blocked by hills that we can debunk as being hills. The horizon's not a hill getting in the way of any boats, Andrew. By contrast, oh my God. Oh my God. Thank you for making this uneditable, Neil. Try that again. By contrast, absolutely ruin that, Neil. Thank you so much. By contrast, does big waves getting in the way? Yes, I can see how you might see that as being an effective combatant to this Earth curve edge reification based on the geometry in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve maths today, Weiss. It's not. It's garbage, and you did not win with it because it's crap. There's waves getting in the way. No. We debunk the geometry at its base level by offering proof with demarcation points that show how far the horizon is. And if it's a hill, it doesn't move. Because it's a hill. Yeah, we would debunk the notion that it's a hill getting in the way as opposed to just blaming the waves, which is crap. Let's be honest.
I told you.
Listen, if the Earth was a ball,
pause, please.
Boats could go over.
Yeah,
pause, please.
Interrupting Dave, postulating that if Earth was a ball, this won't be preceded by debunking of it, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, there's a very important point here. I remember Dave Weiss asking you to protect Bitcoin. Now, I don't think that Dave Weiss could think you could protect this Bitcoin with the wave argument. I know they know the Black Swan argument. I know they know the celestial navigation argument. I know Dave Weiss trusted his Bitcoin in your precious argument, hands and mind, not because of waves or Antarctica, but they refused to use the same argument or give credit. Now, this is what's being shown here. Let the audience know Dave Weiss asked Nathan Oakley to defend his Bitcoin with FED debate points, and they're not waves or Antarctica. I'm done.
What's wrong with Nathan? Hold on. Hold on.
Is he about to use the Black Swan? Because if Earth is a ball, I'm just wondering.
I'm thinking the same thing.
Well, if he does, right?
Is he about to say it?
if he does, I'll offer my humble apologies to Dave Weiss on air live. We'll see.
I doubt it.
horizon. But a ball requires a set limit of vision before you.
He's going to do it. He's going to do the black swan.
You hit a physical horizon. The anti-globers will now admit that they don't have a physical horizon. Right? Supposed to have a physical horizon. Can you see my mouth? No, because it's behind a physical obstruction. Zooming in doesn't bring it back.
What the hell? That was not the black swan. What the hell was that?
They refused to do it.
So he gave up the first if P then Q statement and then transitioned to zooming in while Andrew Weiss looked bored.
Yeah.
What was that?
Dude, right there.
That's the part that is like I feel very happy educating the newcomers, and this is what gets Dave is not a newcomer. But anyway, I have to constantly correct the newcomers that the thing about zooming in is because there's a geometric horizon there. So saith their geometry. That's why. Not because you can just zoom in, because people like Dave, what's his name? Joe Rogan is just going to say, yeah, well, you zoom in and you see the boat, you wait for it to get to the horizon because eventually it disappears. Well, it's not an eventually curved Earth. It's here's the address to the geometric horizon. Our boat's disappearing behind it, curved Earth. That's the part that they're missing.
That's copyrighted.
Right. And
yeah, I know,
my dude.
Exactly.
I'm glad you said it. That's dope.
But why take the half of the argument for modus tollens and say if the Earth's a sphere, then every distance to horizon can have a limit? He didn't give the geometric limitations mathematically, but that's fine. But therefore, if we zoom in, the boats come back. What the hell was that? I mean, I'm dead serious. What? Why? That's the crappiest argument ever.
Well, it's a Frankenstein transition. He just took one explanation, broke it off, and tried to surgically attach another explanation, even though they don't really match.
No, seem totally non sequitur.
That's not what he's doing.
Go on, Brian. Hello, by the way.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Nathan. That's not what he's doing. What he's doing is he's trying to use the black swan argument without addressing the black swan. So he's making a screw up of it because he's trying to repurpose the argument without mentioning the black swan. He's trying to make the horizon argument without making the black swan argument. Exactly. That's what's going on with him.
Kind of what I was thinking.
One at a time. Neil, you're causing this chaos. Go ahead, Neil.
Brian's correct. That's all I wanted to say. He's right.
We didn't hear him being correct because you were saying he was correct to the top of his conclusion. Go ahead, Adam.
The next time, take a breath. Why are you taking a breath when you're talking?
I'd just like to reiterate that basic is exactly what I explained. Okay?
Why are you breathing?
No, it is exactly what I explained. Thanks.
We done?
Maybe it's that because I haven't heard. I got here late. I haven't heard most of this debate, but maybe it's because it's all over the place. I mean, 2 seconds ago they were in Antarctica, right? So it just sounds like maybe this was like a very scattered debate. Like to go from the telling the guy that you have to have a physical geometric horizon or some type of physicality that's blocking anything, and then you go to Zoom. It's like, why? But then 2 seconds ago, nobody goes to Antarctica. Like this shit's all over the place from what I'm hearing.
Chocolate. The reason it's a scattered debate, and it appears that way most of the time, is because they never delivered the death blow to the globe.
Well, I was going to say, according to Arthur and Refracted, that's so that they can keep people in the mix with a draw every time. Go ahead, Refracted.
Y'all aren't appreciating the logic of if P, then Q, Z, therefore T. So,
Z.
So that that's the non sequitur. You're just not accepting that.
There is a real point in that little bit that I find very strange. Dave knows the black swan, and what I kind of heard there was he was about to espouse it. If the Earth is a ball, and we got onto horizon and kind of went, oh shit, I'm about to use the black swan, I'll go back to my Q statement and turn it into zooming in. And I wonder why the black swan isn't acceptable for them to use. It's been long-standing now. It's very powerful, but that was quite obvious moment, yeah? And we all thought he was about to say it because it is the logical thing to use. And I'm not really worried about what he spits out. I asked the question, why is he not using the black swan? Because it's not because of ignorance of it.
I'll be fair.
Because he doesn't want to be called anti-FEDer, that's why.
No. Okay, well, don't let me say no. But my speculation is because saying that you can zoom back in is true, and it doesn't invoke a numpty glober for saying refraction, which they don't know how to handle. He might not know how to handle or might not like having to deal with the pushback that comes with refraction, so-called. That's a big so-called with quotes. And maybe that's why he fell back from that.
But refraction ends it, though, Eli.
To that. That's got refraction's not a retort to that, is it? I'm asking why he's avoiding it. Why is he using some half-breed comical statement that we all laughed at? Why did he retort to that when he knows the black swan? Why is he not using it to destroy this guy?
I don't know. Shout out to Lumpy Gas in a Vacuum. Says, thanks, Nathan. Good show. And we're not ending yet. Also, shout out to Michael Jones, who joined as a member early on. Obviously, we've been into the thick of it. Shout you both out at the same time. Thank you for hitting the super chat.
But we can see too far. So,
stop it.
Oh my God!
There we
Serious.
Okay, so we alluded to this earlier, where when David Weiss is describing the 3 red, green, and blue lasers that he's saying that should be blocked. Well, the assertion that we see too far is to say there should be an obstruction blocking our view, but there isn't, which raises the question of, well, why? When it should be blocked, are we seeing it? Which again opens the door for them to debate their reasonings for why something that, according to their geometry, should not be there, it should be behind a hill, but is there. We can see it. Right, like zooming back in on the boat. But Dave's phraseology is to assert that we must expect to have globe Earth curve that he's not debunked and is refusing to use the black swan getting in the way. We see too far? No, we do not. So if I look out and see a clock in the distance, I look at it as a flat earther and say, there's a clock in the distance. Now the man standing next to me with a globe belief says, oh, no. That's not a clock. We are seeing too far. There should be a begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, Earth curve calculation for a sphere edge blocking your view, and therefore, because there is an Earth curve edge horizon at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, what you're actually seeing is a mirage of a clock, because the clock isn't really there. The real clock is behind a physical geometric limitation at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and it is brought back into your line of sight by way of bent light at 7/6 of a radius value, called terrestrial refraction, bringing the mirage of the clock back into view. So it's not really a clock at all, because I'm a globe believer, and that's a mirage. I look back at this complete insane moron and say, no, mate, I just see a clock. But I'm not a globe believer and don't have to apologise when I see things. And I certainly don't have to say that I'm seeing too far when I just see a clock. There's a clock. Well, what's your explanation for it, flat earther? Oh, what, as opposed to there's a geometric horizon getting in the way, but it isn't in the way, so therefore refraction's making a mirage that we can see. What's my explanation? I don't need one. My explanation for seeing a clock, I've got eyeballs. I see it because it's there. That's the end of my explanation. I don't have to explain anything. You have to apologise for seeing things because there's not a hill getting in the way. Globe believer. Oh, I don't have to explain a damn thing. We certainly do not see too far.
Physical obstruction. Zooming in doesn't bring it back, but we can see too far. So let me can we go back to let's finish on the flat earth, and then let's just talk about the physical limitation of a globe. So in the heliocentric model, the globe model that you blindly believe in, right? You blindly believe. Say it. I blindly believe in it.
Come on, Dave. We're all rooting for you. Come on, you can do this.
Blindly believe. I hereby pledge allegiance to the ball.
All right. So this is what's going on. We're spinning. Do you know how fast the Earth is spinning at the equator, the globe?
Super fast.
Okay, 1,000 miles an hour. That's faster than the speed of sound. So when you watch the sunset, the sun's not going away just as it appears. We're falling over backwards, right? I'm on the ball, you're the sun, and I'm falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound. Okay? That's what you have to believe. Yeah. We're orbiting the sun at 66,000 miles an hour. We're chasing the sun at over about 500,000 miles per hour. Okay? But none of these motions can be.
I feel like I'm learning so.
What? I thought we were going to get there.
Yeah, I thought we were too. He's got to work on that. Yes, he's immediately gone away from it, but he's got to work on how he phrases this stuff, because he's now just saying, we're on a ball, we're flying through space. No, you've got to give caveats and preface these statements. Otherwise, you are just claiming we are on a ball flying through space, moving backwards, turning at 1,000 miles an hour. You're affirming their faith. While you're saying that, he's nodding. Yeah, we are. Yeah. That's what he's doing.
I thought he was definitely good. I thought we were going to have to eat some humble pie and go,
no.
Me too.
Me too.
Come on, pal.
No, you tease us, Dave. You tease us.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just we're all.
But you know, science is much more complicated than what we can feel and see, because that's what like cavemen and prehistoric people thought. They just went on what they could feel and see, and it's a lot more.
Sorry, what?
Cavemen?
Beyond what we feel and see. Okay. So if I was to ask Andrew what the 3 constituent parts of a independent variable are, do you think he'd know? That it must be, number 1, real. Number 2, your independent variable in your scientific prediction, aka a hypothesis. And number 3, capable of being physically varied by you, the researcher. Again, it's an outrage. I hope if you get shared this video, Andrew, you take on board my disdain with you when you blabber on about science when you haven't got the slightest idea what you are talking about. It is an affront to every person who is watching this show right now. You're a fraud. Don't talk about science, Andrew.
More complicated than that.
Well,
look, if the Earth...
There was one.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say there was an effect detailed of seeing too far. So maybe we could launch into an inquiry of cause and effect for why we see too far now.
We don't see too far.
That's not what Dave said.
Well, as a flat Earth leader, obviously he's right.
If were a basketball that in size, we'd all be 32 nanometers tall. Like you wouldn't even be able to see us. So that 32 nanometer little midget thing on a basketball would not be able to see. It would look flat, yeah.
So Andrew, this is a pre-programmed thing. I know everything you're going to say, by the way. I could drink a glass of water on an airplane, seasons, I know it all.
Someone want to add something?
Please pause it.
Does that basketball have a radius?
It has a geometric horizon, for God's sakes.
Yes, it does.
All right, but
I realized he was just making apologetics for why it's flat.
Oh, that was another chance to dunk on him with the freaking black swan right there, man.
We're a nanometer on a freaking.
I do this to the Yankees too, man. Like, don't feel no
basketball,
way.
But we can watch with our naked eyes and see a boat go over the curve. So which way do you want it? Is it
we can watch with our naked eyes to see if boats go over the physical geometric sphere edge horizon at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, Dave? No, we can't. We've debunked it. We debunked it 3 years ago.
Gigantic, or is it not?
But those are huge distances, that horizon. But it's very rare in real life that you get to see such a far distance because of hills.
Really? We could give you an example. It's called the Black Swan.
You've got him now. You've got him now, haven't you? He's now presented you with the opportunity to provide the evidence in the Black Swan peace statement. Yeah, he's asking for it.
He's literally laid it out. He's literally laid it out for him on a platter. He's just gotta pick it up.
And because of buildings and
Andrew,
things.
there's the Bolivian salt flats. It's 300 miles. It's perfectly flat. Okay, perfectly flat, no curvature, and
smiling because he knows he's not addressing his question about the horizon specifically. Yeah, straight to the Bolivian salt flats and how flat they are is a non sequitur to his question. That's why he's grinning.
300 miles, the curvature is miles and miles, but it's just flat. What was I going to say? Now I've lost my train of thought. But here,
right.
Just to give you an idea on the speed, right? We're orbiting. This is the hypersonic sled track. It's going by a Mach 8.6. It's shocking how fast.
Nathan, do you see what's happening? He's just running his mouth. He's not staying on one subject to kill it and get a response from Andrew Gold. It's just tell. Eventually they'll believe me, rather than ask a question and kill it with facts and evidence. This is so embarrassing.
Well, that's kind of what I said before, right? Like 5 minutes ago, we were in Antarctica and we went to the horizon, and then now we're at the salt flats. I mean, we're all over the place right now.
Don't you feel like you're on a Street Fighter map?
Seriously, bro. Like
Brazil.
No. Nope, he's on his talking points. He's on his script. So whenever he feels challenged or compromised, no matter the topic, he'll go back to a script. Follow?
Your brain can't
just been asked, basically, for the geometric constraints, the P statement. He's just been specifically asked by the guy that's inquiring. Yeah. And what we now? We're going back to some high-speed train and orbital mechanics.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, QE. He went right back to a script. And you know what happens? People go back to their script when they feel inferior in the topic that they're discussing.
That's what I just said.
That's what ballers do.
But it's a bad script.
Yes, you did just say that. Hold on, Neil. Yes, you did just say that, QE. That was pretty much your sentiment. But Brian did say that specifically about Dave Weiss about 2 weeks ago. So there's that.
Fathom twice the speed, right? You have to believe that this giant water ball surrounded by air in a space vacuum is going 10 times faster than this in a curved trajectory, speeding up and slowing down around the sun and chasing the sun at 100 times that speed, never to return to where it was before. But then when you go out in nature and use your God-given common sense or your atheistic given God common sense.
Okay. So for whatever reason, when talking about the horizon and its geometric limitations, by question from Andrew Gold, we're now onto the orbital mechanics, rotational speeds and velocities. Okay. Now, fair enough. You've non sequitured your way onto your script and spinning motions from that question. Not really reasonable, but we've just covered that. How are you going to debunk it? So let's see if part of Dave's spiel in this regard to orbital mechanics actually debunks the 4 assumptions that he needs to get to those speeds he's just declared on their behalf as a flat earther. Let's see if he actually debunks orbital mechanics now.
Okay, using your common sense, you see stuff like this.
It would be pretty
And what does
silly
this tell you?
for him to just say you're orbiting and spinning at this speed and then leave it at that, right?
Well, we'll see. He might now undo what he's put on the table in response to a question about the horizon. We'll see. He may undo them. He may not. I don't know what he's going to do next, to be honest.
Your common sense tells you that this is not moving. Okay, stamp your foot at the edge of that water. It's going to send ripples right across it. You know,
that's why it's so remarkable, David, because your common sense does tell you that. And it's so remarkable because actually we're moving so fast. That's the beauty of it. But when you're on a train going super, super fast, you don't feel that.
Is that it? So he's won. He's won that point. Yes, David, that's right. It is so remarkable that we're going incredibly fast and we don't even notice. Wow.
It's the beauty of it.
It's the beauty of it.
The beauty of it is I've been on many trains and I do know I'm going that fast.
Right. I see. So the speeds that we're traveling are based entirely on Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion. However, that will only give you scale. It won't give you distance to extrapolate out the speeds that you're travelling and the velocities that you're travelling in this argument. Therefore, you need a further assumption to give you distances from the scale. Well, if you're looking at something in the distance and you're trying to figure out how big it is, then you need to either have the distance itself or have the size of it in the first instance. And we don't have either. So we need to, let's quote what Huygens was described as doing, make an ingenious assumption. Let's just, as Huygens did, assume that Venus has the same radial value derived from the geometric horizon that we would have debunked at this stage with the black swan. The R value that derivation gives you, we can just superimpose that Earth radius we've assumed by a geometric calculation we can't measure onto Venus. And then we've got the size of one of the lights in the sky for Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion and all the scale. Now we do have distance to give us the velocity and the speed that we're travelling around in our heliocentric assumptions. Now, based on the fact that I can detail the assumptions and impossibilities of measurements for geometric horizons to derive R values for Earth to transpose onto Venus, to imply that Kepler's bullshit about orbital motion is true with a scale given to you by an assumption by Huygens by way of Venus and its R and Earth's R that you can't measure. I would say that pretty concisely debunks this total garbage. Now let's contrast that to Dave's response. I think you'd notice that. I see. So which would you as an audience prefer was disseminated to Andrew Gold? The assumptions required to take Huygens' assumption of Venus into a scale that was given to him by Kepler, based on a scale for Earth as a sphere by way of assumption on a geometric measurement taken by Al-Biruni to a geometric horizon that we've debunked? Do you think that would conclusively debunk this orbital motion and the speeds and values that we may or may not feel according to Dave? Because I'm going to say I've done a better job than he has. Just saying. Wouldn't want to be an armchair quarterback, but I absolutely would do a better job in this game than Dave did.
Unless you look out the window, you need something to compare it with.
I forgot to throw the train in there with the airplane.
What, like having a size of Venus, for example, Mr. Smug, I've just won this point. Yeah, you will win with a Dumbo like Dave who doesn't know any of these arguments, but I'd wipe that smile straight off your face, Andrew. By saying what? You'd need to scale it with something else, like the size of Venus? Well, then you'd need an ingenious assumption, wouldn't you? By Christian Huygens. You see, my problem with that assumption of the speeds that we're not noticing, Andrew, is that they're all based on this assumption. Now, if you've got something better than that to prove that it's that speed, then I'll accept it. But if you haven't, I think we can all accept that this assumption, based on an assumption, based on an assumption, based on an assumption, isn't going to give us a speed that we're not going to notice. We're just not noticing one because we haven't got one. But you'd need to prove that we have with something better than 4 assumptions. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, you can keep smiling with Dave, though, because Dave didn't do a very good job. He just said you wouldn't notice. And you said it's shocking that we don't notice how fast we're going. Right, Andrew? Numpty.
Well, you know, he could have also taken it a third direction and said, well, given all of your assumptions require a plane of reference, how do you get a plane of reference on the surface of a sphere?
Perfect. I wish I'd do this. I've got to start incorporating that. I'm just not as smart as you. I've got to see that massive highway leading to flat Earth at the start of my rants and spiels, because I'm weaving my way, trying to carefully pick my words on the back roads to the end goal. And then just after I arrive, I'm like, whew, got to the end. I see you in your Lamborghini flying over that bloody highway that I've missed the entire time because I've not glanced upwards. Yes, there's a highway here leading to a flat Earth.
Screaming, you need a flat Earth for that.
Bloody Lamborghini. Why am I in my stupid Yugo fighting my way through these back roads? Yes, John, do you want to reiterate that point so we all understand how that highway leads to a flat Earth rather than my negotiation through the back roads?
Right. The assumption that Huygens made of orbital mechanics requires a plane of reference, and the radius value of the calculated radius value of Earth requires a differential between 2 flat planes. So you have 2 requirements for Earth to be flat within your assumptions.
It's not 4 assumptions. It's 5 assumptions. I'm sure Brian says 5.
Well, that's why it's when we're talking about the speed of light. But with this, there's what Andrew Gold is talking about is an angular size. So they pre-assumed Venus was around the same size as the globe Earth. They had not a measured geometry, but a pre-assumed calculation geometry of a radius of 3959 miles. So they used angular sizes to determine how far away Venus would be if all those pre-assumptions were correct, and then how far away the sun would be from Venus in accordance to its angular size, blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
So
blah, blah, blah. Stop. No, that's the main point.
perspective.
In case you didn't pick up on it from the audience's perspective, what Brian's just completely demeaned with blah, 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 is the angular size measurement in the first instance. That's what John's alluding to. That's the highway that cuts straight through all that bullshit I had to wade through. Yes, you do need to know all that bullshit so you can address it should it come up from the opponent. But the quick route, the chop them off at the knees, is this all starts to even derive Kepler by way of angular measurement to these lights in the sky. And to do that, you need a flat plane. So this all starts with a flat plane. And then we start making our assumptions about the angular derivations when superimposed onto a derivation of eye level to surface level to give you the differential, to give you a horizon below surface level, to then move forth with the radial value derived from that geometric tangent point horizon, to give you a radial value for Earth, to transpose onto Venus, to use for Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion, to derive both, as Brian's dropped it in, the speed of light and the motion of the orbital mechanics. Whew. But the highway is, you'll need a flat Earth for that, because you're going to be taking angular measurements in the first instance for all of these off a plane of reference. Correct, John?
It's worse than that. They're using perspective. Yeah, it is. They're using perspective. Where is perspective in the Earth curve calculator?
That's the same thing.
For?
That's the same thing. That's angular relationships.
Yeah, but they don't have perspective. Like, they want to use perspective for the celestial bodies, but they want to ignore it when it comes to both going over their
I gotcha.
horizon.
Yeah, we did cover this earlier as well, right? But ironically, Andrew Gold's talking about perspective, #shit shrinks, and then talking about globe Earth maths of geometric horizons blocking boats. You're like, not in your maths. And you're saying, well, when we're talking about the angular relationships that they'll base their 5 assumptions on to get to the speeds and velocities being described in the orbital mechanics that Dave simply says you won't notice. Yeah, exactly. Brian. Lots of kudos to all the panel today. We're on fire. Hence I've kept going in the live show. This is a really good response video. I hadn't watched this actually, and I was planning to do it for a long time. I just haven't got around to it, but I'm glad we're doing it today because by coincidence 10th had provided a video from the guy we covered yesterday, Brian Leake, but he was responding to me having a debate with Jaron. Too convoluted for us to respond to, so I said no.
When you're going straight and level, okay, straight and perfectly straight and at a constant speed, you kind of don't feel it, but that's not true. Walk towards the front of a train while it's going at a constant speed and walk towards the back of the train, and you feel a major difference, okay? But the train and the airplane are going straight. None of the motions of the Earth are straight. They curve, right? The outside of if you're on the...
Again, you've got to be careful with how you're saying these things. You're now telling the audience that none of the motions of Earth are straight. Okay. So when he next does the exact same thing that he did 3 minutes earlier, which is nod along and go, yeah, it's really amazing and beautiful and shocking that we don't notice what you've just described to be true. Well, he's just going to do it again, isn't he? Based on how you're describing this with a train example, he's going to go, yeah, amazing, isn't it? How fast we're moving through space.
Equator, you're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour.
It's great that he's got him in the train at all.
Yeah, it seems like David Weiss is having a lot of trouble prefacing what he's talking about properly. So he's just rolling it in without proper prefacing. And yeah, that's very convenient for the ballers.
Very. But also, he's making the globe Earth claims for him. If this guy wants to claim we're spinning, let him make the claim.
You can't, because he's on a script, as QE said. My goodness, how many times do we have to listen to this guy to know that's what he does?
Or yes, it's only once per day, and a clock hand goes half that speed. But that clock hand is going 12 inches in 24 hours, when in fact, if you're on the outside of the ball, you're going 1,000 miles an hour, and you're going off of your trajectory by over.
It's conflating the angular rate of turn with the actual velocity that you would travel on the tangential rate, right? He's convoluting these two things.
Over a mile a minute.
Again,
making a distinction there.
He didn't even give the correct answer with his juxtaposition. He said, yeah, it was so much on a clock, but he didn't give the distance that the Earth was going in 24 hours. He went off on another subject again. It's lunacy.
Yeah, and he just accepted the whole train thing. It's like
Brian, I think more guy in this subtle way was trying to get a word in just before you were.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
So it's funny because I just turned on my laptop so I can actually see the video, and I knew the name Andrew Gold sounded familiar. I think that's the name. Well, it's funny because I had never even heard of this guy, Andrew Gold, until maybe like less than a week ago. And since I've watched probably 5 or 6 of his recent videos covering the whole Danny Masterson thing, I don't know how up on that you guys are, but so if you don't mind my asking, when was this? And this was actually billed as a debate?
Yeah, so Andrew Gold has been around for about 18 months on YouTube. He's an ex-BBC correspondent who left the BBC under circumstances I'm unfamiliar with. But I watched his rise to YouTube fame, as it could be. He's probably got 100, 200, maybe 1,000 subscribers now. I don't know, I have to have a scroll up in a minute. But yeah, I subscribed to him when he had less than 100, I think. Like, he had no subscribers when I first saw him. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. He's covering Scientology. So you say, am I familiar with the Danny Masterson thing? Yes, I am. Because I've got a vague interest in Scientology, because I see it as the prepackaged way of tucking away heliocentrism when it fails. So that's a different subject, though. But yes, Andrew Gold does cover a lot of Scientology stuff and a lot of conspiracy stuff, like mainstream, just off the beaten track of mainstream in terms of conspiratard coverage. But yeah, he's nowhere near as bad as others. But he's, like I say, his debate bill with this is off the back of originally 2 years ago now. Sean Atwood, who's the guy from Banged Up Abroad, who has now got a YouTube channel talking about his incarceration in the States for dealing ecstasy on a massive, massive, massive scale. He and Professor Dave went up against Dave Weiss. So I think the show host may have been Sean as opposed to Andrew at the time. But Andrew, I think, was there as one of the 4 panel members, if memory serves me, from a couple of years ago. And as he said in the introduction to this, he just wanted to continue the discussion with Flat Earther David Weiss off the back of that first discussion, because there was so much rumpusing from Dave, although he didn't actually say that. So there you go, you're all up to date. Right, as we come... Go on.
Gotcha. Thank you. And I don't know, I was just going to comment on, I'm not sure why Dave would be volunteering himself to do high-profile debates. I mean, no offense to Dave or anything, but I mean, clearly he's not exactly the sharpest debater on flat Earth, and I'm just wondering why he wouldn't, and I'm not like saying like he should have reached out to me. I just don't understand why he didn't reach out to anybody, to somebody that might have been able to represent flat Earth better, because there are a lot. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's just weird that the high-profile sort of debates and these sort of things go to some of the absolute worst people to do it, but that's just my personal opinion.
Hey, listen.
When that happens, he talks about his boat. So
yeah, he's probably just doing it to sell more apps.
Well, I mean, come on, guys. Like, to be fair, like,
right?
The thing is, are any of us trying to talk to these guys? Absolutely not. You get what you get.
Nathan, go back 10 seconds. Listen to Dave's argument.
I don't know where I got to. I just scrubbed forwards, actually, and I'm probably in the wrong place now.
You get what I'm saying?
Not fair. Well, you can barely tell it's moving, if you could even tell. Expand it out to 24 miles in circumference. It's going a mile an hour. Hey, that's like a slow walk, right? Now span it out to 2,400 miles. It's going 100 miles an hour, and it's curving. You're holding on to this thing for dear life. Now spread it out to the size of the Earth. It's going 1,000 miles an hour. It's curving off your trajectory faster than a free fall skydiver. I'm sorry if you can't see that.
I know. But we can see that, and we can see that you're right if we think of it in a very basic way, that our forefathers all thought of it that way. But there are several reasons why we don't feel the Earth spinning. One is the constant speed. So on that train you're talking about, it's never going to be exactly constant.
Really? A constant centripetal speed?
It
really?
just means he hasn't. As much as hold on. As much as we're critiquing Dave, let's give him credit where it's due, right? Andrew, you've just ignored what Dave Weiss has just explained to you about the edge velocity not being straight. In other words, you're in a constant accelerative motion because of your turning. Now, that's essentially, although not as concise as what Dave Weiss has just explained to you. So if you to say, no, it's going straight, means you weren't listening to him. Go ahead, I had QE first, and then Chocolate, I think.
No, I was going to say more or less the same thing. He doesn't understand acceleration. You covered it.
Anybody else?
Yeah, when it's not acceleration in a straight line, you're going to start to feel centripetal forces, which even if the rotatory movement is constant, you'll still have that constant force pushing on you.
Well,
because you're moving in a circular motion. That's just a fact.
Yes, indeed. Well, now we get to find out if this is actually scripted or if Dave Weiss actually knows his own arguments, because he's essentially just told Andrew Gold what we have just reiterated, because it's Dave that brought it up, and the response was to essentially not even a hand wave. He just didn't comprehend what Dave had said to him, right?
Because he's on a script as well. Yeah,
maybe that's what I'm saying. So maybe we'll now find out if Dave Weiss goes, no, I just literally told you 25 seconds ago. That's not the case. Or if his script just means no, next line of the script. So we'll just move on with that being the case. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, the Earth spins at a consistent speed, just like when you're in a car going at steady speed, but you feel it when you start to brake. You suddenly start moving back and forward. There's the relative motion, we and everything around us moving with the Earth. It's like being inside a moving train, you say, walking down the aisles. To someone inside the train, it feels like you're just walking straight. To someone outside, you're moving at the speed.
What, 2015 arguments?
I can't do this. This is total lot of rubbish. A train is a completely false analogy. You're enclosed in an enclosed system, and you do feel it, right? Even within that system.
Stop.
You do
Please stop. You said you didn't want to do it.
Brian.
Stop.
I'm not finished.
Hello.
I'm not finished.
You missed the point, Brian.
I haven't missed the point. I'm about to talk about the point. The point is that you are not moving at a constant rate if you're on a rotating sphere, because everywhere you go is going to be different from where you started, because you're dealing with a different latitude, you're dealing with a different rim velocity.
No.
Right?
No, that's not the point. Okay, Adam, then me. Adam, go ahead.
Your orbital acceleration rate is constantly changing also.
Hey, we got that. But that wasn't what I was going to say.
No, you
Adam,
didn't.
okay, please, Brian. Go ahead, Adam.
Easy there.
Arwin, you're adding to the audio chaos. Adam, third time's a charm.
The point is, will Dave recognise that he's been strawmanned by Andrew?
Yes.
So Andrew's come back by saying the train that's going at constant speed, yeah? And he's likened it to the Earth rotating at constant speed, not recognising that rotation is an acceleration. However, there is no acceleration on a constant speed train. You don't need to go argue anything else. You need to school it on what acceleration is. It can be an increase or decrease in speed. It can also be a change of direction at a constant speed. You can school him properly there.
That's correct, but he doesn't need to be in this position in the first instance. All of what has just been said is correct, notwithstanding all of the above. He doesn't need to be in this position, does he?
Well, let's see what he does.
Well,
yeah, but you've just handed you the opportunity to give him a lesson. So give it him.
For me, what should be happening here is Dave should be holding the claimant. In this instance, there's a claimant and there's a claim. It's not him. It's not Dave Weiss. So therefore, the burden needs to be shifted onto the positive claimant of what he suggests proves Earth spinning. Now, if by analogy, Andrew Gold suggests that the effects of moving in a straight line on a train and not feeling it is why we don't feel Earth's acceleration, oh, well, that's not really a win. Now give me what actually proves we are spinning. And if he doesn't know, you then school him in the actual globe claim. That would be to say there's 2 reference frames and a Coriolis deflection claimed. You all heard of the Coriolis effect? Most of you Muppets think it's only attributable to a spinning ball Earth. It isn't, but that's what you Muppets on the globe side think. Therefore, you're damn sure you know it's a claim that the globe makes. So when you say you're familiar with Coriolis effect there, Andrew, oh, you are? You definitely know this is supposed to happen on a globe then, don't you? Well, that would be Earth turning underneath as a separate reference frame. Stuff would drift away from us at 15 degrees an hour. We don't see that happening. End of argument. That's where it should go. But because Dave's postulating this crap for the globe on their behalf, with all their positive claims put to the audience, concisely as they get, for the globe, he's now going to defend whether or not we've got relative motion in an accelerative frame because it's moving in a ball-like manner on the edge of it versus a straight train. Why are you arguing this, Dave? It's his claim. How many times?
That's what I found was kind of the problem, right? He gave the Glober all these globe arguments, and all the Glober had to say at the end was, "Yeah, you're right. You just got to think about it in a different way."
But he already explained. Like my thing is, here's another slam dunk that Dave began with, and then he's like fucking 6'8" and just completely missed the dunk.
That's right.
Oh, excuse my language. So it, like y'all said, okay, a rotational body has an angular acceleration. Obviously, the train situation is a non sequitur. Dave Weiss already mentioned the rotation. So he should be going, no, you didn't hear what I've said.
Well, let's see.
Or didn't understand.
Well, let's see what happens.
The guys,
hold on a second.
The guy said, "I don't feel the force." Yeah, because it's a constant speed. Yeah, that's his reason. He's actually prefaced that to Dave. Yeah, in his straw man, and therefore showed his lack of understanding, as we've outlined. Yeah, that's what needs jumping on. You've got an opportunity there. Yeah. In this to actually show the guy that his validation for why you don't feel the force, because you don't think there is one because it's constant, is wrong in physics.
Indeed. And we will find out exactly what happens in the after show. So, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ Panels for making this live show possible. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of you in Nathan Oakley 1980 for watching live, smashing the super chat, joining as a member, hit me up on PayPal, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you are watching on either After Show, on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, as there will be an After Show to follow. Let Andrew Gold know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully you'll share the love in return, should he respond to this video. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!